advice would you tell the younger Chico in you, maybe 20 years old Chico, right? Okay, perfect. So 20-year-old Chico, what I'll tell him is focus. If at 20, I had sitting down and thought of my life when I was 50, right? And brought myself back. And this is a technique I'll teach you in one of the upcoming sessions. It's called heuristic redefinition, where you project yourself 30 years in the future, and then you make a map of what you want to become 30 years from now, 25 years from now, 20 years from now, 15 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 1 year from now. And then you make a line as to the things that you want to be 30 years from now and the things you want to be a year from now, but that are similar. And you focus there. Because when you focus on your passion and your purpose, you are destined to succeed. What happens with ambitious young people like us when we're in our 20s is that we want a name. We want fame, we want money, we want everybody to know us, we want recognition, but we haven't built the momentum to get to that recognition. You don't get overnight success. It's the many nights that you've been working hard that pile up to one day you wake up in the morning and the whole world has heard about what you've been doing for many years. So I would tell my younger self to be focused and disciplined and to have, figured out what exactly I need to be or I want to be in my life. What has God destined me to become? 2, how can people be motivated for liberation? I think liberation, if I understand what you mean, is like pursuing what you want. You have to understand one thing. Your parents, when they were born, didn't know who they were. Some of our parents don't still know who they are until this moment. Like they themselves still haven't understood themselves. So we're born in a society where many people don't know who they are. They don't know why they were born. So and they're very good at giving you wrong advice on who you should become. So it's like someone who's not married giving you marital advice or marital counseling. Someone who is broke giving you advice about becoming rich. Those things don't go together. So if you want to be free, hang around people who are free. That's one. If you want to be free, realize that you are the only person who's responsible of your failure and your successes. If you follow a path which is drawn and decided by other people, you will get the results of their wishes. Did you attract success or pursue success? I believe that if you pursue success, success will pursue you, right? But that needs to be a success which is worthwhile. It needs to be a definition which is not only for you as an individual, but it needs to be of good for humanity. So whatever you want to achieve, if it's not helpful to a lot of people, believe me, it won't be worthwhile or helpful to you. Because you have to screw people, you have to lie, you have to cheat to get there. However, if what you want to do, like for example, let's say I'm doing food. We want our food to be one of the most impactful food companies. We want to invest $400 billion across the food value chain in Africa, right? So for us to achieve that, we have to build a successful food company, right? Once we build a successful food company, we start investing in other companies that are along the food value chain. The farmers from where we're buying our ingredients, the farmers who are raising the animals, the pigs, the cows, the chicken, the transporters, the ones who are taking it from the farm to the restaurants, the researchers who are doing research on different varieties. We're going to invest in all of those. And when we do that, we're going to improve the agricultural productivity on the continent. Now think about that. That's a continent-wide goal. When I say I want to impact 1 billion people, I'm really serious about it. So my success becomes the success of many other people. How do you handle those different failures? Is there any failure comes out the lot which defines your personality? Every single time you fail, your mind and your body and your spirit changes, okay? So you have to understand, those failures had a lot of effect on me, like especially these hard times I did in Kenya, they really, really had a toll on me. In my book, it's not yet published, it's called Start Within. I talk about a chapter where there's a lady who was raped when she was young, and then because she was raped, she lost love of her body, so she went on and slept with so many other people, slept with guys, because she had no love for her body. And then the guy who loved her, he wanted to marry her, took her to her parents, and then the parents found out about her story, and they said that he couldn't marry her, so they said that they didn't want her. And while he was going back to talk to his parents, he got hit by a truck, he died. She went to the hospital to get the guy, his body. The mother found him there, said, "It's your fault, you're the one who's caused my son to die," etc., etc. This lady, for about 20 years, she didn't become nothing. Like, she didn't love herself. She never took care of herself. Her whole body was degraded because of someone raping her in her past, right? And then one day she woke up, and on the news there was a guy who had killed himself, and this guy who killed himself was a guy who had raped her. And he, in his letter that he left, he said, I want to apologize to all the people I had raped because I know I've had an effect on her. And that's how she started healing. And she healed because she shared her story with her sisters and shared it with other people. Every hard thing you go through as a human being leaves a scar on you. However, the difference between those who give up and champions like myself and like you is that we keep going despite the failure. We keep going despite the adversity. We keep going despite the challenge because we have a bigger vision. What is the biggest mistake you have made with regard to your business? How old did you handle that? And what lessons did you learn? The biggest mistake I made, I think, in business was not knowing my customers. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I've made, is that I made decisions according to my own understanding rather than studying my customers and looking at their habits, their needs, asking them. So in the Vataba, I got a loan of about $10,000 from an investor in the US, right? When I got the loan, I thought, because of the customers I wanted, I needed to build a better restaurant. Because I thought that my customers would come, they'll spend the day, eat at the restaurant, have fun, then go. Rather than looking at the customers I already had, who were mostly expats and people working for the UN, who had a lot of income, and they didn't just want to come and go, they wanted to come and stay. So I had already built rooms for students who would come, so there were bunk beds, they would come, they would sleep in the bunk beds, then they would go. But rather than investing in proper hotel rooms that would be, proper for these people who were used to luxury, were used to the good stuff, I listened to myself. So I think that's something I'll never make as a mistake again. I went and built the restaurant rather than building the rooms, and then we had the Ebola crisis, and then we had political crisis, and no one could come to the restaurant. But if I had the rooms, people would still come, and we would still have an outdoor restaurant, and we'll build, then later we could be able to build it. The most difficult thing is, how do you calculate risk and uncertainty for the success of a business? Good question. You see, they say it's all about managing risk, right? But now, risk is also related to knowledge, to industry, and also to what is the underlying problem that you're solving, right? Has it been solved before? You need to study that. If it's not been solved before, you need to ask yourself, why has no one ever pursued this path? So in my case, very few people had created, online restaurants, because people always feel and believe that you have to go to a physical place to have a restaurant. So to calculate your risk, you need to understand your industry, you need to understand the business in which you're in. Once you understand the business, you have to also be the one to be an actor of change in that industry, rather than being like following what the rules have already been set. Because many of the businesses that fail, it's not because they broke the rules, it's because they stuck to them. They stuck to the rules without seeing change happen, without seeing how the environment was going around. So for me, the best way of understanding my industry is going out there to know what others are doing, and then looking at what they're not doing and asking myself, why aren't they doing this? And many times you'll find they're not doing it because of some belief that they have that it can't be done. So you now have to go and do research on where has it been done elsewhere in the world. And if it's been done nowhere, take the risk. Career. Is it helping to achieve something in one's entrepreneurial journey? Very good question. So this is the last question we're taking. You have to understand one thing. We're not all the same. All people are not the same. Some people are very good at finding what they love and what they're good at very early, right? And they're very good at focusing at that. Others, like myself, are the adventurous type. I consider myself a sannyasi, right? If you've read the book, The Alchemist, all of you actually should read The Alchemist. You realize that Santiago thought his pot of gold, or his fulfillment, was elsewhere. He had to travel to go elsewhere. But in reality, after traveling, he came back to where he started, and that's where he found his goals. Now, all of us don't have the same path in life. You need to figure out, from my background, why am I here on earth, right? What am I destined here to do? Why was I born? What is it that God wants me to achieve on this planet? That's one. Secondly, what am I passionate about? What would I do without someone paying me money? And that's where now you start thinking of business, or you start thinking of partnerships, or you start thinking of sponsorships. You need to find your purpose, link it to your passion, and then find a way to make money from it. Thank you all so much. I'm so happy for this. I can't wait to have the next session with you. Share it with your friends. Invite them to join. Tell them what they missed out on. And I love you all. Keep sharing the love.